The goal was always to just make work more enjoyable, relationships and connections stronger. And so now in this world of AI, we're probably one of the few AI companies that actually does not replace people. We're actually enhancing people's relationships. And we're the first AI that actually makes work and people more human.
Welcome to the Harry Handles It podcast. Today we've got the incredible John Betancourt on, who is a tech founder, former Fortune 500 executive, workforce strategist, and the CEO of Humantelligence, a new AI company. Welcome to the podcast, John.
Thanks for having me here, Harry.
Of course. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself to be the CEO of Humantelligence?
You know, I was a high educated guy, Northeast, 18 years, 20 years. And I left the US to Latin America 10 years, Europe for 10 years, and then came back to the US. I worked at large corporations, Procter Gamble, Reebok, Puma, worked at a similar type company in France called Decathlon. Then I had a second career for 15 years as a headhunter, so what they call an executive search consultant with the two blue chip firms, one called Heidrick and Struggles, one called Korn Ferry. They're like the McKinsey or Goldman Sachs for recruiting executives. And I went from large corporate because I couldn't stand, how bad managers made one's life miserable. And I always thought there should be a better way of making managers better. And then I went into headhunting, where I found executives through interviews and using personality tests. So between those two careers of large corporate companies with bad management and then using psychometrics for recruiting, I always had this dream of using psychology at scale with technology to help everyone. And so 10 years ago, I launched Humantelligence using psychology, so a personality test embedded within workflows, so within Microsoft Teams, Outlook, Slack, Zoom, you name it, where you can get insights about people while you work and where you work at any time. Such questions like, how do I work better with Harry? Why are we having conflict? And so the goal was always to just make work more enjoyable, relationships and connections stronger. And so now in this world of AI, we're probably one of the few AI companies that actually does not replace people. We're actually enhancing people's relationships. And we're the first AI that actually makes work and people more human, which is kind of a flipping on its head, this fear everybody has. So that's kind of how I got into it. And it's been a long 10 years. And it took a while for AI and technology and integrations to get to the point where it is now seamless and fun and a great tool to use.
So tell me a little bit more about Humantelligence. I know at our firm, we've used some of the personality tests for hiring assessment, better training for our team, the Colbys, the Prince. Is that similar to the Humantelligence tool, or is it just a different way of delivering that kind of information to the people?
Very different. Let me tell you an analogy. Have you ever used Grammarly?
Yes.
So the analogy is, how is using a dictionary on your desk different than using Grammarly?
Yeah.
The dictionary on your desk, you never use. Grammarly, you're using 10 times a day. We do the exact same thing. All the psychometric tests you just mentioned, Addictive Index, Colby, Hogan, Lominger, people take them to do the workshop. You spend $30,000 for the team to get to know each other. And then it goes into a folder and you never look at it again. That's analogous to the dictionary or the thesaurus. We did what Grammarly did. We basically take those results, upload them into a system, Microsoft Teams, Outlook, Zoom, Google Workplace. And now, like Grammarly, all that information is flowing so you can ask any question anytime. So we get usage of about 25 to 30 per month. So we're looking at 300 uses a year, 300 times the system, what we call Ask Aura, this kind of agentic robot woman, Ask Aura, can answer any question like a personal coach. So it's actually the first AI coach that knows you, knows your team, knows your firm, and can, or the whole organization, and can answer questions around the psychology. Just like in the old model of psychometric personality tests, you would only get that in the workshop in person for $30,000 for 2 hours, and then never again. Ours is any moment, all day long, 24/7 for tens of thousands of people, up and running in 10 minutes. No software integration needed.
I love that, because we found that to be a challenge. Like, we do these tests, we found some value in it. There's some benefit. There's a big kumbaya moment, but then how do you carry that forward? And I love that this solution patches that together.
And what you just said, how do we carry this forward? That is the number one complaint and feedback at the end of those workshops. Hey, consultant, this was amazing, but how do we now use it in our day to day? And the answer was always, well, remember to go into your folder. And it doesn't matter that the people you're working with probably haven't taken it because it was only for our little team of 10 and not the 4,000 employees. So, and we give the assessment for free. I actually don't believe there's any value in a self-awareness tool if it's not being used by people with others. So I give the test for free.
Incredible. I mean, you said it's been a 10-year work in progress. Can you talk about some iterations of the company as it came up to being what it is today?
We started because I'd just come out of headhunting or recruiting for executives. I was looking for an assessment at first to just be me interviewing someone and filtering, understanding their behaviors, their motivators, their work styles. And so most recruiters at law firms or at any company don't really know how to measure behaviors, motivators, values, work styles, right? They're not professional psychologists. And so I found and bought for $2.5 million the world's most advanced scientific instrument, personality test that measures behaviors, motivators, values, work styles, leadership styles, and communication styles. And so I bought it and I built a software company with an applicant tracking system so that anybody could just send a link to a candidate or a group of candidates through already integrated into UKG, Workday, SuccessFactors, or iCIMS, Taleo, whatever the ATS is. So you just send it out through your existing system and you could see the profile and compare it to the hiring manager or compare it to the team or compare it to all the high performers. So it was a home run, right? Like give it to all your high performing junior law firm workers, right? The ones who come right out of business law school. Give it to your high performing ones and it'll tell you what are the characteristics of 28 things? What are the 4 things that explain high performance at that law firm, for instance, that indicate success? Are they all decisive? Are they all deliberate? Are they all conceptual or detail-oriented? And then you can use it to hire and it'll give you a score how good a fit they are for the role or the team. We did that for 3.5, 4 years, crushed it, got up to like $2.5 million. We were a top startup in Miami, but then COVID came. I would have loved to have been a restaurant during COVID because a restaurant, at least, there was no loss for demand for food, right? People still ate. Actually, I think a lot of people ate more, but at least my 20 pounds extra
Me
were
included.
Yeah, right. The problem with restaurants was, well, the demand didn't go down. We just can't serve in our restaurant. We got to get the food to that customer. That was a real challenge. But with recruiting software, nobody was hiring. I mean, so our demand went to zero. Within 3 months, our $2.5 million in ARR went to zero. So I fired everybody but 2 developers. So that was the first 4 years of the company. So, fast growth and then nothing. And then we tinkered around, we pivoted, like, how do we get this psychometric tool for existing employees? And so we got it into Zoom and Microsoft Teams Virtual so that you could do it during meetings. And we sold it as a collaboration platform. And it was awesome. Like you could write an email, push the button, it rewrote your email for you in Outlook or Gmail the way your recipient wants to read the information. Unlike Grammarly, which can't do that. Yeah. Grammarly can pick the tone you want, but if you don't know the person you're writing to, that doesn't matter if you pick your own tone. You want it to be written the tone for your audience, and we could do that. Grammarly. You could get insights around a meeting, like right now in this meeting, you could click the button, it'll tell you on Zoom or Microsoft Teams the dynamic of the team, and so better norming, forming, storing for cross-functional or remote teams working together. Now, that all came to naught because, this sounds silly, we had a great collaboration platform. You would think collaboration is important. Well, just because people were talking about how hard it was to collaborate, no company in the world has a chief collaboration officer. Where does that person sit? How do you sell a collaboration tool to a company where there's no one with the mandate to solve collaboration? Other than IT during COVID, which was, let's get people connected. But connected is not collaboration. So IT didn't care how well people collaborated. They just wanted to make sure everybody could get on a call together. And so we found ourselves kind of like pushing water up a mountain because nobody cared at these companies about collaboration. And so we did 2.5 years of kind of that didn't work. And then we saw ChatGPT come out two years ago. And that was the moment I thought, mic drop type moment. Every piece of content in the world will be consumed not through like a click and read like you do on a Google search engine, but let me just ask a bot, let me just ask a coach, and if you noticed, every company out there now has Ask, Gemini, Ask Amazon, they all have their own names. We're Ask Aura. And so I was like, wow, why don't we just create an Ask Aura, kind of like a ChatGPT, but it's bounded and constrained by questions around collaboration, teamwork, leadership, conflict, and all the things that psychology can help answer. So it was it was a long meandering path, but for the last 2 years, we're really crushing it. We're growing again, and it's really been fun.
That's awesome. I mean, recruiting is a big problem for almost any business that's scaling or growing at all. What did you bring from the private headhunting space into Human Intelligence that you found benefited from your experience in that?
Well, I think when in our first iteration of the product, I kind of just knew the way recruiters think. And so it really helped with every little feature and function. So even pricing, right? Like I remember that most applicant tracking software was priced per candidate, and same with assessment tools. We're priced like how many assessments were taken. But then companies don't want to pay for 1,000 assessments if they're only hiring one person, because at the end of the day, the other 999 assessments they paid for that aren't being really used. So we changed the pricing more to like the executive search model. Like, hey, what value is there for us to find you the right person? Let's just put a fixed value to that, and we'll give you the assessment unlimited version, right? So that was one thing that we did on pricing. Being able to do comparisons not only with the manager, but with the team, with high performers. Those are things that I got and I learned from my headhunting role. And there are probably a lot more little details, but after, that was 5 years ago when we were doing the recruiting tool.
And so tell me a little bit about your background before all this. Tell me about the Facebook before the Facebook and how that came to be.
Interesting. Funny you found that, that reference. Yeah. So I used to love meeting people. Like my vibration is curiosity and connector. Those are the two things that kind of define my energy. And so my father was a professor in France at a business school called INSEAD. And every summer from the age of 3 or 2, we would go to France with all these other kids from all over the world. And, I'm 55, 56. So, back when I was in high school, there was no internet. I mean, I didn't get internet until I was like 25, maybe 28 years old. And so I used to write postcards to all these kids I met. And we're talking not a few. By the time I was 10, I was writing 100 postcards a week. By the time I was 18, I was writing like 300 postcards a week. And so when the internet came right after college at 22, I could then scale even more. And I also had more money. I could travel more. I worked all over the world. So I was meeting people every 3 years all the time. I practically didn't have time for dating. And so they called me the Facebook before Facebook because I knew more people than anybody. Like Facebook had a cap at 5,000. I already knew 20,000 people when Facebook came out, right? Like same with LinkedIn. The running joke was like Juan knows everybody. With John, there's a 1 degree 1 degree of separation with John. That's kind of and I had this whole system of staying in touch and a lot of things that Facebook tries to do to keep you connected. I was doing naturally. That's the story behind that. Which also kind of led to my Human Intelligence Ask Orb. Is at the end of the day, we're all about at Human Intelligence using psychometrics to create better connection, using psychometrics to creating a vibration between people as if they've been married for 5 years, even though they've only met for 5 minutes.
I love that so much because after these assessments, after considering the human psychology in our own practice, in my own team, changing the way I communicate with the different team members, depending on how they receive information, has been a game changer for me. So I love that this tool exists, and I love how easy it sounds like it makes the facilitation of this connection with other team members. Somebody who I may not have, 15 conversations a week with, but the one time I need to speak to them every other month or every month, it becomes a memorable and elevating experience for everybody involved. And, things don't get crossed and messages don't get mixed.
Yeah, especially during performance review period. It's the most delicate conversations about, hey, you're not performing, or what's your career path? What should it be? What would be good for you? What would be good for the company? All of those moments are delicate. And a tool like ours gives the script to someone. Like you, Harry, clearly know how to take a report of somebody else, interpret it, and then change, even though it's difficult, and then deliver a new message. 9 to 10 leaders can't do like you. And so our tool allows those other 9 to figure it out without naturally being able to change their behavior.
Yeah, I love that. And how does it show up in like your workplace flow? I know you said Teams, I know you said Slack, but does it kind of show up with suggested ways to communicate with somebody, or do you have to prompt a tool to tell you?
So prompting is a big part of how we constructed our platform. If you go to ChatGPT, there's just a big square. I don't believe people are curious enough to know what to do with that big square. Like, you give 80% of human beings on this planet 5 hours with God, and they wouldn't know what to ask.
Good.
It's sad, but it's true. So instead of having a square, we kind of guide people kind of like a coach, where we say, what do you want to do today? And then we have different boxes like tiles on a screen or on your phone. Are you having conflict? Do you need to lead a team or manage a team or have something around team dynamics? Do you have questions around cross-cultural stuff? Do you have questions around just somebody else in the company you want to know about? So then you drill into one of those. Let's say it's about somebody else, about Harry, a guy named Harry. Do you want to know how to collaborate with Harry? You want to know how to develop Harry, conflict with Harry, and then let's say collaborate. Okay, and then we have 5 questions. How are Harry and I most different? How are we most similar? So, and we still have the little bar where you can just go straight into your question if you have it.
Yeah.
But we're kind of coaching people, right? Like for a team dynamics. How do I lead this team? What would drain this team? How do I motivate this team? What a motivational speech for this team? Who is the most, do you want to find someone in your company? And you click in and like, you can do a drop down, most creative person in the company, most structured person, most process oriented. Trying to create a team, it's the description here. So we're kind of pulling along the user with questions that they might not have come up with on their own.
Yeah, that's really cool. Does it depend on the input from team members? Like, team members all have to take an assessment built into the tool?
Yes, we do not scrape and crawl people's emails. That's not, it's not ethically correct. I wouldn't want somebody reading all my stuff and trying to get to know me. And B, it's actually not accurate. The only way you can know somebody's psychology and what values they have and what motivates them is actually taking a personality test. Most tests have to be validated as scientific instruments, or they cannot be legally used at companies, both for recruiting and for coaching. And so there's only about 30 tools out there in the world that are actually scientifically validated. We're one of them. That's why we had to buy our way into that tool. So to get the insights and to be able to answer questions about other people or a team, everyone in a company has to take the assessment. Now, it's not mandated. On a Monday morning, email goes out, hey, welcome to Humantelligence, this journey for better collaboration, leadership, team effectiveness. We're going to use this tool. If you want voluntarily, you can take and participate. It's a 10-minute assessment. Or you can even upload other assessments. So we now have the ability, we're agnostic. We can upload anybody's assessment, Hogan, DISC, predictive index. And we get about 93% of employees opting in voluntarily to take the assessment.
And is the tool, do you have a target business size? Is it a good tool for a business of 2 people? Is it a good tool for 200, 2,000?
Yeah, so leadership, collaboration, and understanding applies to every company in the world, whether it's 2 people, 200, 2,000, or 20 million people. Now, the smaller the company, the more you know everyone. So picture a law firm, 10 people that have worked together for 10 years. They've already figured out how to communicate with each other. Otherwise, they wouldn't be together that long, right? It's like a married couple after 20 years. All these tools wouldn't matter because after 20 years, you figured out how to change your approach. And, when you have something really important, I got to approach my wife or my spouse this way, right? However, because most 10-person companies haven't worked 10 years together and they have some new people coming on, our tool still makes sense. However, it's not going to get used more than maybe 3 to 4 times a month. Okay. A large company with 20,000 employees, which is now complexity, you're working cross-functionally, you're on 7 different teams, you don't see these people, there's new employees every month, you're working with people in different countries. There you're getting about 30 uses a month because every day there's someone you're writing to, working with, on a call with that you have no idea who they are. And so there's just more usage at the bigger companies. Smaller companies, there's a little less usage, but it's just as valuable to have. Obviously, we make money on the bigger companies, so we're focused on selling this kind of product to 500 or more employees. But for less than 500, we give a really good one price for everybody, which isn't too much, and people can have fun with it.
Awesome. And does it still tie into the recruiting aspect at all to help provide assessments of, is this new person going to fit in, or how would this new person fit into this specific team?
You can use it for that. We also have this Ask Aura agent in our recruiting tool. So we now have 2 modules, Ask Aura, the AI coach, and we have the Talent Fit for Recruiting, our old product that's still there with Ask Aura built in.
Got it. Cool. Have you found that companies will spend a lot of money recruiting people, but they don't spend as much time or effort in trying to retain or keep or coach these teams into more success?
I think they spend equal amount of time and money, but on the wrong things.
Tell me about that.
So, every day, every month for the last 7 years, I've been reading about engagement surveys. We want to understand our employees and why they're engaged, why they're not feeling connected. And people are quitting and they're spending millions of dollars on these engagement surveys, which tell people if they're happy or not. Like at the end of the day, a tool like Ask Aura solves all engagement. It'll tell you the two biggest things with engagement are I quit my boss. I can't stand them, right? And that's usually friction. I don't believe that everybody's out there so mean and horrible. I just think people have different styles, and it feels like the person hates you when they have, a different style. If one person's decisive and the other person's deliberate and the boss is decisive, they'll get so frustrated by the deliberate subordinate. Not only are they it's a decisive boss, but they're also conceptual. Now you have a deliberate subordinate who's also detail-oriented. So they're taking forever and they're giving too much information. I mean, this is like, it's going to blow up. And neither one is right or wrong and good or bad. But the feeling that both will have is, I hate that person. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Okay. Our tool will get rid of that. Our tool will explain to both people that, hey, neither one of you is right. You both have to meet in the middle, right? Yeah. Because a leader of 5 people has to come to the middle with 5 different profiles. It's hard to be a manager because you have to become schizophrenic and have different personalities for everyone. But unless you have a tool like ours, it's very difficult to do unless, there's like 10% of people that can naturally do that. And the other thing, so our tool helps with that reason people quit and who are not engaged. And the other reason our tool helps with engagement is what projects you're working on. Our tool, you can literally say, the company has these 5 projects, A, B, C, D, E, and you describe it. Which one would be best for Harry to keep him most fulfilled and engaged? Today, there's no tool or boss in the world that would know the answer. Even Harry wouldn't know that answer because you don't know all the intricacies of each type of project and how that will tap into your motivations, your values, your work styles. Aura, in 2 seconds, you could plop that in and ask Aura, and it'll tell you, give Harry project 3, a cross-functional project that's strategic. And here's why, right? And so we solve engagement. But a lot of money is being spent on that. So I think money and time is being spent on these things, but just they're wrongly placed. Another study, Gartner showed that only 40% of managers, so picture a big company, all those mid-level managers, 45% never get training on leadership, on how to lead a team or manage a team.
I believe that.
But the problem is they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for the 5%. They're not spending on a tool like ours 1/10 of that for the whole company. Our tool can develop all managers, all levels for a fraction of the price. It's only a couple dollars per person per month.
Yeah, just to give people that little bit of human intelligence to help make better communication decisions or make better decisions overall with their team. I feel like there's great value in that. Tell our viewers, John, how they can find out more information about you, more information about the company, and stay connected.
Yeah, they can find me on at LinkedIn at John Betancourt. They could go to my email and write to john.betancourt@humantelligence.com. And they can visit our website at www.askaura, that's AURA.ai.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the conversation today, John, and I look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you, Harry.